Alrighty, so again, hopefully the purpose of this class today, it'll start seeming a little repetitive, which again is kind of the point that I want to make. Obviously, the reason we're doing this, and the reason I'm teaching it this way is, again, get you guys comfortable, just used to going in and doing, going through that process. So what I'm going to do first is obviously log into your command if it is a brand new opportunity that you're creating. Again, most important thing, if it is a brand new listing or you're working with a brand new buyer, whatever the case may be, you're going to want to start in command first. The thing is, you will start all of this in command, and then from there, you will mainly work in DocuSign. So if you need to send anything or do any paperwork, you will just be able to log straight into DocuSign at that point. But again, since we're creating something brand new, we're going to start in command first. That's very important because if you do not create it in command first, the issue will be when it comes time to submit your documents to the MCA office, when it's time to get paid, that's when you will run into a roadblock. So please, please, please put them in here first. It's going to save you a lot of trouble and headache later down the road. So again, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. In some of the other classes, I've explained what everything is. This is just to get you comfortable with connecting all those different steps together. So first you will want to log into your command, and I am going to go into contacts. Okay. And so from there, you're going to want to add in the name of that contact. So again, all you'll need for this is their name and their email to start. So, please make sure you have those in there as well. So yeah, Miriam, so we are switching to DocuSign at the end of the year. So at the moment, we haven't fully switched over yet. So continue to use .loop for the time being to access the paperwork, but this will be the new process at the start of the year. And so we're gonna kind of have everybody start using it come November and December to get comfortable to iron out any little kinks along the way. So this will be the new process for accessing the paperwork in DocuSign. Okay, so I'm going to add a contact, and let's see, this contact, I'm just going to make up some stuff for today. So let's do, let's say the name is Bob Roberts. And I'm going to include his email. So let's see, Bob Roberts. 123 at gmail.com. Okay, that's all you're going to need to include to start. If you already have that contact in here, you will not have to go about doing this step, but if you are adding them for the first time, you will just want to make sure you add a contact, add their name, and add their email. That's all you need. Don't worry about anything else on here. We're going to click create. So that created the contact. Again, if you already have the contact in here, you won't need to add them. You'll just be able to search, which is what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to look for Bob. Let's see. Refresh. Sounds good, Margaret. See you in a bit here. Let's refresh. Okay. Let's see, where is Bob? Okay, let me try that again. I don't know why that didn't stick. Try another one here. Okay. Sorry, everyone. I don't know what. Okay, something must be going on. I don't know why it's not saving my contacts. Okay. I'm gonna have to see what's going on. Something might be down at the moment. It's not saving anything when I'm adding a contact. So in this case, I'm gonna just jump ahead. I'm just gonna take a contact that I already have in here. Let's see what we got here. I'll do Bobby. That's one of my friends here. So in this case, I have Bobby. Hopefully I have, okay, I have his email in there. Okay. So in this case, what I was trying to do, and again, I don't know why that's not sticking, either creating a contact or taking a contact that you already have. Again, just make sure you have their name and at least their email in there. And then what I did is I searched for them and I just clicked on that name. When you click on that name, it's going to take you into their contact card. And on the right-hand side is a timeline, and we're going to click on opportunities. So we created the contact, and now we're going to create the opportunity for that contact. So when you click on opportunities, you will click on create opportunity. And you'll see you're going to go ahead and fill out this pop-up box that comes up. So again, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. That's kind of purpose of this. So market center, that's always going to be our Burnsville Basking Ridge location. Team, unless you are part of a team, that will be blanked out, so no need to worry about that. Opportunity type. So again, I think the best way to explain this is the way that opportunities is set up in Command. It creates separate pipelines so you can actually see how your business is doing it with those different opportunity types. So there's listings, there's buyers, and then there's actually leases. But on here, it will allow you to separate landlord versus tenant. So you can actually kind of think of it that way. Listings, buyers, leases, and then just pick between the two. So for most folks, a lot of the time you're going to be probably doing either a listing or a buyer. So in that case, for today, we'll do a buyer. Owner, that will always be you as you are creating this opportunity. Again, the only time that may be a little different is with a team, so nothing to really cover there. Client, because I selected Bobby, in this case, he is the client, he is the buyer. If you have a co-buyer or a co-seller, you can also include them on here as well. They will need to be entered as a separate contact. Opportunity name, so that's going to always revert to the name of the individual. In this case, it's going to be that individual buyer, or in this case, that individual listing. You can name that whatever you want, however you'd like to order and organize that information. It's completely up to you. That's just for you to see. So in this case, typically what I'll recommend, include the person's name if it is with a buyer, include the property address if it's for a listing, just to be able to keep track of that. But you can come up with whatever naming convention you prefer. Scrolling down a bit further, I'm not worried about anything that doesn't have a little red asterisk next to it. So no need to worry about the tags or the close date or the time frame, any of that at this time. We will finish up with the little asterisk, so commission rate. So in that case, I'm just going to drop in 2.5%. Again, all of this information can be changed later if it needs to. Toward the bottom, we have opportunity phase and opportunity stage. So you'll see here that they give you a couple options. Again, my rule of thumb and the best way to kind of think about it, it will require you to select one of these. what that does is that just kind of places it on your pipeline so you can kind of see where these opportunities are laid out. That comes into play a little bit more if you're more in the cultivate stage, if you're just putting their information in here. But chances are, if you're coming in to access the paperwork and do, actually enter DocuSign and get the ball rolling, chances are you're already at the active stage. So feel free to just select active for the opportunity phase. And then for the opportunity stage, same thing in that case. Again, you'll see there's searching, showing, and negotiations. That just shows where you are in that process. Again, chances are you're coming to this point. Chances are you're in the negotiation stage. So feel free to select active and negotiations. Again, you can always change those at any time. Okay, so we filled that out and we're going to click create. So once we do that, you'll see that under opportunities, it now shows that we've created one opportunity. It's going to have the name that you come up with. It'll have obviously the date and just a little bit of information about it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click into that opportunity. And that's going to take us over into the opportunities tab. So you'll see here there is a bit of information. At this time and where we're at, I'm only going to focus on details, documents, and offers and commissions. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and start with details. Pretty self-explanatory. You're going to see details contains some of that information that we already populated in. If you need to change any of that for any reason, there is a little edit button that will allow you to add some more or change that information. So in this case, sorry about that. Where was I? Sorry. Okay. So in this case, yeah, sorry everyone. If you need to include any information, obviously you can click the little edit buttons. With that, that's important to know about this details section. Whatever information is filled out here will feed into your documents in DocuSign. So the more information that you can include here, if you have property information, if you have any of those, budget or any of that stuff, you can include that here. You will also be able to add in that information when you get over into DocuSign as well, which I'll show you here shortly. So make sure you fill out as much of the details section as you can, very important. Next, I'm going to click into documents, which is where we're going to go to actually start accessing the paperwork. While I'm here, I do want to mention, because I touched on this in a class that I did yesterday, just so you guys are aware, when the time comes for you to submit your documents to the MCA office, to get paid, to complete your green sheet, you will actually go into this offers and commissions tab. I'm not going to cover that today. That's kind of, coming down the line. But just important to note, that's kind of why you'll be coming back here. You'll be using this screen kind of a lot to go back and forth between documents and offers and commissions. So once you're in documents, you'll see that basically if you're starting this for the first time, you're pretty much going to go and just click start a transaction. But while I'm here, I do want to just point out one other thing. This documents section will contain checklists. So you'll see here, when the time comes, you'll actually come back to this page and you'll upload your finished files here to submit to the MCA office. This will connect directly with DocuSign, so you won't have to go back and forth. You'll actually just be able to click here and it will automatically pull in that information from DocuSign. Again, not worried about getting to that today. Purposes of this class is just to get you to the paperwork. Okay. So once you're in this section, we are going to click start a transaction. In this case, you guys will not see this. I do have .loop connected to here as well. Please do not get confused with that. You will pretty much just have DocuSign connected only. So in this case, I'm going to click DocuSign, and that will take me over to my DocuSign account. Good rule of thumb, good thing to note, if it's the first time that you're logging into DocuSign today, it's going to have you sign in once a day. So this is the first time I've been in here today, so it's just going to ask for my email and my password. Again, if you've logged in at some point before you get to this, you won't have to log in every single time. Okay. So when you do log in, it's going to automatically take you into the room that was created for your opportunity. So in this case, you'll see the room name is actually what we named it in command. So it's just Bobby DiVerona buyer. For those of you who are still getting used to this, just think of a room essentially as a loop in .loop. So it's just a place where all of your paperwork is going to live. It's where you're going to fill out all of your paperwork and then ultimately get it ready to send it off for signature. So when you do get to this page, chances are you're not going to have any documents in your room just yet. I will show you here in a second how you will pull in the documents that you need. But similar to how I was discussing command and the opportunities section of command, when you are in DocuSign, for the most part at the beginning, you're really only going to be working within 3 sections here. And that's obviously going to be documents, details, and ultimately envelopes, which is how you will send out your paperwork for your client's signature. So what I recommend before you even bring any documents into your room, I recommend going over into the details tab. And similar to that details section in command, you'll see that some of that information has already pulled into here. But this is going to give you, again, a much larger opportunity to add in additional information. You know, from the price and property details, you know, information, whether you are representing the buyer, the seller, etc. Any information that you need to add or edit, when you click into the details tab, there is going to be a couple buttons in the upper right. You can just click on edit, and that's going to open up all of these different boxes, and you'll be able to drop in whatever information you want or need. Again, highly recommended, fill out as much information as you can or as much information as you have, because whatever you fill in here is going to feed into the documents. So in this case, since I listed this as a buyer, I obviously have, let's just drop in a little bit of details. Let's say Bobby is buying 123 Main Street. Let's say it's in Basking Ridge. We'll select New Jersey. Okay. And in that case, let's say we also have the information for the seller. Let's make something up here. Let's say, again, I'm just dropping in some information just so we have it, so you can kind of see, you know, how this will kind of fill out. Similar to what's already kind of being done in .loop. When you go into .loop currently, there is that tab where it allows you to populate some of the information. Very similar to that as well. Okay. Again, I just wanted to throw in some of that. I'll even throw in a contract now, let's say. Okay. So when you're done, when you fill in all of this, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a save or a cancel button. I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. Again, just throwing some information in there so you can kind of see how it'll populate. All right, so once you're in details, we're now going to go back to the document section. So now it's time for us to pull in the documents that we're going to be working on, that we're going to fill out, and we're going to send to our client. So if you're coming into the document section and you haven't uploaded anything yet, you'll be able to click a button here that says upload documents. Or let's say you do have documents in here already, you need to add more. Either way, you can click in the upper right, there is a button that says add. And you'll see that gives you a few options to add in some of those documents. So in this case, it'll give you a couple options. Maybe you have some documents saved on your computer. Maybe you have something in Google Drive. You'll be able to upload those directly. But for most of you, you're going to want to go to where it says DocuSign Forms. Because what that's going to do is that's going to pull up a couple different what are called groups and also libraries. So this is where you're going to access your paperwork. Most important to know, I think I've kind of learned the easiest way to explain this to everyone. You are primarily going to be accessing the individual groups that we have laid out on the left-hand side here. Just a way to think of it, those groups are exactly what you would select in, and they contain exactly what you would find currently in .loop. So when you go into .loop, when you create a loop, you have, I think there's 11 different options of loops that you can select. And those individual loops contain pretty much all of the paperwork that you could possibly need for that type of transaction. So again, you'll see listed here, they're in alphabetical order, but they're going to contain everything from, buyer documents, GSMLS listing documents. Maybe you're listing in a different MLS. We have those here as well, CJMLS, Hudson County, Monmouth Ocean. So we've kept those exactly the same. So that way when you come in here, just again, think of it exactly how you were when, when you were going into .loop to access those. So, obviously for today's example, I've created an opportunity for a buyer, for Bobby. So I'm going to select buyer documents. And when you do that, you're going to see that it has pretty much all of the paperwork that you could need, in addition to some stuff that really you might not even need, but we put it in here just in case. So to start, what's nice is if you're brand new, a brand new agent, or obviously most of you are new to DocuSign, the forms that we have in these groups, you'll see that it actually shows you the ones that are required. So you will have the option, you can either check everything off if you want to add all of these documents into your room, or you can just individually check off maybe the ones that are required and maybe a couple of little additional ones that maybe you might need. So again, you might want to include the checklist. Maybe it's a new construction, wire fraud notice, whatever the case may be. You can actually just check off that and you'll click Add Selected. Before I do that, what I do want to point out to everyone, some of the naming conventions in here, we have the ability to change some, but not all. So you'll see there are some documents in here which do say, actually, let me start here. Let's see. So since these are buyers, you'll see that there are some documents that say NJAR. I don't know if I probably don't have any. Let me click into GSMLS. That's another good example. Okay, there are some that say GSMLS, NJAR, KW825. I just wanted to call that out to everybody. So the forms that are listed with either the board or the MLS name in front of it, we do not have the opportunity to change those because they are coming directly from the board or the MLS, which is how I'll kind of explain this library section briefly. All agents will also have access to the libraries section down here. And what those are is those are forms that are coming directly from the MLS or the board or NJAR. So if I click into GSMLS, you'll see it's all the GSMLS forms that they provide. If I click into NJAR, it is all of the NJAR forms that they provide. And so what that is, what the nice thing about that is they are always the most up-to-date forms. So you never have to worry if you're working with an older form or anything like that. That's the nice part of DocuSign is they are connected directly to these MLSs and to the different areas. So in that case, what I've done and what we've done to make it easier for you guys is we've pulled those forms out of these libraries and put them into the groups that you're used to. So that way, when you go into buyer documents, when you go into the GSMLS listing docs, you will see some of these forms will say NJAR or GSMLS, and that's just because we've pulled them directly. Having said that, some forms you will see are named after our market center, KW825. Those are our office-specific forms. We do have a library for that as well. Those are always going to start with KW and then our market center number, which is 825. We are able to change the names of some of these forms, especially after that part. So you will see some of those changes are going to be made in the coming weeks and coming months, because currently some of them are named a little differently than what we want. But again, I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention. Having said that, everything that you pretty much should need should be in here. So if I'm going back, in this case, we're working with a buyer and I click on that buyers group, again, almost everything should be in here. I have a few more forms to upload, but you'll have everything that you need. So in this case, I'm going to select whatever it is that I want to bring into my room, and I'm going to click Add Selected. Okay. So as soon as it does that, you're going to see it drops those forms in. One little trick that I like to make note of, if you hit refresh on your browser, give it a couple seconds, it'll actually start feeding in so you can actually see what the documents are. I think that's like a really cool kind of feature because it helps you kind of easily visualize what those forms are and making sure that you have what you need. Once you bring them in here, they again will be in alphabetical order. So in this case, again, they are going to start and kind of go in order based on that naming convention. Once you're in here, kind of getting closer to these last few steps here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look for, let's see, did I bring in the, yes, contract. I'm going to click into the contract and we'll use that as our example. So once you click into these forms, you're about to see that all of that information that you need, all of those boxes are already here. And any information that you've already typed in will populate into those required, or in this case, those spots on the contract. So again, I was just throwing in some information earlier, but you'll see here, obviously, this is the buyer. Bobby is the buyer. I typed in a little bit of information for the seller, John Smith. In this case, I made up, what that address is, and it includes some of that information. Purchase price, things like that have already populated into here. Now, let's say you don't add any of that information in. Let's say you don't add any information into that details section. You'll see that you'll be able to manually add in anything that you want. And you can also change any of that information if it's not correct. Once you change it on here, it will automatically update in that details section. So again, if you wanted to type in, any information, again, I'm really just kind of dropping some stuff in here just so you can get an idea. So what you'll want to do is when you add these forms into your room, just like you do in Dotloop, you're going to want to go ahead and fill out as much as you can, as much as you need to. You'll have the option to do all of that. One important thing to note, when you are in here, you'll see there are no boxes for signatures. The way that DocuSign works is you're going to fill everything out first. You're going to get everything ready to go. And then you're going to drop it into what's called an envelope. And you'll then send that off to your client. So in this case, if you filled out your paper or if you filled out your, whatever the document is, you will hit save and close. Once you do that, it will take you back into your room. And again, just fill out any of the documents that you need to. Fill out as much as you can or as much as you need to before sending off to your client. So in this case, let me select, I forgot to mention this. If you hover over the documents, you'll see there are little boxes that you can check off. And as soon as you do that, it's going to open up a tab of options here at the top. So in this case, I'll just drop in a couple here just to show you guys. Once you do that, you'll see it gives you a couple options up here. So you can make copies of those documents. You can move those documents to, let's say, another room. You can email them off just if you want someone to take a look at them. That will not, give them a signature or anything like that. Combine, you're not going to really use that one too much. Archive, delete, and most important, create envelope. So if you get to this point, you filled everything out, you're ready to go, you're ready to send it for signature, check off the documents that you want to send, and in this case, click create envelope. Once you do that, it's going to take you to another screen. And on that screen, it's going to have a couple steps that you're going to fill out to send these off. So you're going to have your envelope details here at the top. It's going to have an envelope name. It's always going to revert and say, please DocuSign. Feel free to keep that, or if you would like to customize that and change it to something else, again, you'll see I have a couple examples in here already. You can obviously do that. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and leave that as is. Next, we have add documents to the envelope. So since we already checked off those 3 documents, they will appear in here. You can always add more if you need to by clicking on here where it says room docs, and it'll allow you to pull any of those other documents that you currently have in your room. Next, we have a section that says add recipients to the envelope. So in this case, if you click on the add recipient button, it'll give you a couple options. For the most part, you're not going to be using room participants too much just yet, so I'm not going to worry about kind of covering that at the moment. Email addresses, if you do select that one, that may be a good example of a case where you might be working with a buyer or a seller, and let's say maybe they're younger or something like that. Maybe the parents want to see a copy of the paperwork, something like that. You can add in the email address by clicking this button, and it will send them a copy that they can view, but they will not have the opportunity to edit or sign or anything like that. So good to know that option, just in case. For the most part, you're going to select pre-tagged roles. And when I open up that box, it's going to pull up a window that looks a little like this. So depending on, and this kind of goes back to command, depending on the opportunity type, whether you are, this is for a buyer or a seller, a tenant, a landlord, some of the roles that you see here may change slightly based on that. So in this case, obviously, we're working with a buyer in this role, so you're going to want to look for buyer and check off that name. You'll see that it'll show you all of the different documents that that individual is going to be signing. So in this case, we're just sending this off to, actually in this case, let's say, you're putting in an offer. Let's say at the moment, you're just getting your buyer's signature. So we'll just select buyer. Obviously, these are the documents that are going to be signed. And then you're going to have the opportunity to select that recipient. So for the most part, you are going to go under this section that says available recipients. Most of that information should already be in here. So since we're working with Bobby in this case, you'll be able to select Bobby and it'll already have his email in there. Let's say in this case, you need to send something off to the seller. You would be able to check that off. And as long as you've already included that seller's information in the detail section, you'll see that his information pulls up here as well. The same goes for the listing agent, the buyer agent. And one part that I am still working on, we will also have a section for broker signature as well. So that will be coming as well in case you do need to have that performed as well. So for today, I'm just going to select those two just so you can see what it's going to look like. And I'm going to hit add selected. So what that'll do is that'll obviously pull in their name and their email for both of them. It'll show who they are, buyer one and seller one. And similar to dot loop, it also gives you the option to click this drop down, and that will also give that individual different options. So if you click needs to sign, that will allow them to obviously sign the documents. However, if they need to, let's say, fill something out as well, they will be able to do that under this needs to sign option as well. I'll show you in this last step how you can do that. But again, nothing to, not much to really cover with that. Obviously, they can also view a copy, they can receive a copy, specify a request, or if you need a witness for a signature. But for the most part, most of you are going to stay with needs to sign. Okay. Last but not least, you can include a message to those recipients here at the bottom as well. Again, it's always going to revert to please DocuSign. Those people will get an email as well. And that will be just a generic email stating, please click here to sign the documents. So they'll receive an email, they'll click a button, and they'll be able to go in and sign. Once we've done all of this, you can either click Save and Close if you're not quite ready to send it off just yet, or you can click Next, and that's going to take you to the very last page, very last step here. What that's going to do is that's going to pull up all of the documents that you have decided to send off for signature. And what's nice is all of these forms are already set up. So in this case, you'll be able to see now it will drop in those boxes where those individuals will sign. So if this is being sent off to your buyer, or in this case, if it's being sent off to both the buyer and the seller, it will be pre-tagged with any sections that they need to sign. Having said that, what is nice about DocuSign is since this is going off to two people, if one signs before the other, it will not matter. You will get the document back with both signatures on one page. So it doesn't matter the timing of when they sign it. Both parties will have access to the same document, but those individuals will only be able to sign or fill out what they are set up to sign or fill out. Something cool that I do want to point out while I have a few minutes left here, in the upper left-hand corner, you will see, well, obviously you'll see here that depending on who is signing, there are different colored boxes and different colored tabs. So in this case, I'm set up to view as Bobby. But if I jump over to John, you'll see that it changes the colors on this left-hand side here. What that actually does is depending on who you click on, you can add in any of these additional bits of information. So let's say for some reason, I'm currently under John. Let's say I need to drop in another text box. Let's say I forgot to, let's see, what am I missing here? Let me scroll down to something a little more. Well, you know what, here, let's just say I need John to type in. Normally this wouldn't be the case. Obviously you would fill this part out, but let's just say you need John to include a text, a bit of information here. You can actually drop in a text box anywhere you need to. And John, since it's selected under him, will be able to fill in that information. Same goes for a date or for a signature. Maybe you need to get an additional signature somewhere on that form. You can drop in a signature box for John as well. Gives you a ton of other options. For the most part, you're really only going to probably be using text boxes, signatures, dates, and initials. So those will primarily be the ones that you're going to use. But since I dropped those in, the nice feature about DocuSign is you can actually see what that's going to look like when it goes off to that individual for their signature. So if you do drop in any information like this, you'll see I'm under John. Gives you the option in the upper right-hand corner, recipient preview. So if I click on that, you'll see that I'm currently viewing this the way that John, in this case, I think was the seller, would be viewing that document. So John is going to sign right here on the first page. Once we get to the second, you'll see that I dropped in that box. It's required for John to fill in that box. John will also need to sign here where I dropped in that additional signature, etc. So that's kind of a cool feature once, once you get comfortable with DocuSign. You'll have the ability to add in any additional little tweaks you need right before you send it off to them for their signature. So once everything is good, take a look at it, make sure everything is kind of formatted and filled out correctly. Of course, all that information that we plugged in is already in here. You can manually add in anything else that you might need to as well. And then from there, you will go to the upper right-hand corner, hit send, and that will be sent off to your clients. You'll receive an email saying that you've started this room, and you will receive an email once those individuals have signed their portions as well. Of course, to tie this all together, let me actually close out of here, go back. Go back into my room. I'll save and close. So having walked through all that, again, I did that pretty quick just to show you the flow of it. You'll send things off for signature. Again, maybe you need to resend another form. Maybe you need to change a form, anything like that. Again, you'll just do the same thing. You'll check it off, click it, fill it out, check it off, send it for signature, and you'll just kind of do that until the time comes that you have everything finished and finalized. You'll jump back over into Command, submit it, fill out your green sheet, and you'll be good to go. Again, those are some additional steps. Purposes of today's class is just to walk through that process from start to finish, so you can kind of get a little faster, see how it goes, and take it from there. Again, I'm sorry I went through that a little fast today. We have our Golden Letter workshop here in a little bit, so I do have to jump and help some folks with that. But any questions with anything I covered?
Do you have any video? Because, you know, like you said, you went really fast. Like if I wanted to start practicing, do you have any video that we can use to guide us step by step when we're trying to write an offer?
Yeah, so I have, if you go to kwtownsquare.net, I have a tab right at the top that says DocuSign, and that'll have all of the previous class recordings. I have got some guides listed there, some links to additional materials. And then we'll continue to keep teaching all these classes moving forward as well.
Okay. And when we do, because I know we're going to start using KV Core, what happens then? Are we going to move to write offers from there, or?
No, so KV Core is going to be optional if agents want to participate in it. I know you are testing that out and using that at the moment. But in that case, KV Core won't, that'll be completely separate from that. That'll be more of the CRM side of things. But in order for compliance purposes, all agents will have to go into Command like I did. That's how they will access DocuSign. And then you will submit all those forms via Command when it, you know, in order to get paid and go through that process.
Okay.
Yeah, because the MCA office, that's really the main reason for it. It's going to streamline the process for the MCA office. So they'll actually be in Command, kind of working on all of that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions at the moment? Okay. All right, I do have to run. So again, I'm sorry I kept this short, but yes, again, I will have all the recaps posted on kwtownsquare.net. There's also, we also have a YouTube page that I'm working on building out that'll have all of our recordings from all of our classes. So you'll be able to access that from kwtownsquare.net as well. And then, yeah, if you guys have any questions in the meantime, just shoot me an email and have a great Thursday. Thanks for jumping on.
Bye, Sam.
Bye.